Hi, I'm Paul Edwards, author of the Mourner's Woods books, and first and foremost, a monster kid. Tonight I'm watching The Blair Witch Project from 1999, the mother of all found footage movies. Mind you, Blair Witch Project was not the first found footage movie. That honor goes to a 1980 film called Cannibal Holocaust. Blair Witch Project was not even the second found footage film. There had been a pair of films called Alien Abduction, which followed the found footage format. There was a film called Ghost Watch in 1992. And the year before Blair Witch Project came out, there was a comparable found footage film called The Last Broadcast, which was about a group of young people working on a cable TV show that were trying to find evidence of the Jersey Devil in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. But the Blair Witch Project is easily the best known to the general public of the found footage films. And the Blair Witch Project launched a whole craze of found footage films that went on through the 2000s into the 2010s. And even today, found footage films are still being produced every year. The Blair Witch Project follows 3 college students who travel into the wilderness of Maryland in search of historic sites associated with a legendary witch. And as the group travels into the wilderness, we share in their feeling of disorientation as they slowly realize that they're lost, and as they continue hopelessly trying to find their way out of the forest, the tension between the 3 characters builds until one of them disappears entirely. The Blair Witch Project worked partly because it felt very authentic. A lot of the dialogue for this film was not scripted. The actors were given general instructions like, go over here or find out that the map is missing. But they had to come up with their own dialogue on the spot. And I think that really contributed to the natural feel of their interactions. In fact, the Blair Witch Project was so convincingly realistic that a number of people thought it was true, that this really was found footage of real young people who had gone missing in the wilderness. And people even decided that they were going to be the hero and go out into the wilderness and find these poor missing victims, who of course were simply actors in this film. Blair Witch Project drew a lot of attention. It was very popular when it was in the theater. There was some backlash because of 2 factors. One factor is, now that we're used to found footage movies, we expect this, but there's not a real tight resolution to the story. The young people go into the wilderness, spooky things happen to them, they meet their fate, and that's the end of the movie. There's no big Hollywood ending where there's a showdown of the good guy versus the bad guy, and we see the bad guy get put in their place. It's not that kind of a movie. It stays true to its found footage format by simply showing you what's on the cameras of these characters up to the point where, they meet an ignominious end, and then that's it. That's just the end of the movie. And in fact, I saw this film when it was in the theater, and although people liked it during the movie, at the end of the movie, there were a lot of complaints and outcries in the theater. Like, what? That's it? They're not going to show us, a solution to the story? No, they're not going to show you a solution to the story. That took people aback when this film first came out. I think now we're much more used to the found footage format, and we expect that in a found footage movie. Another thing that bothered people was a more practical problem, and that is, especially when you're watching this on the big screen, the shaky camera images nauseated some viewers. There are a lot of scenes, especially when the characters are running or walking fast, where their camera view bounces with each step. And we're so used to seeing steady camera in today's Hollywood productions that it was jarring and disorienting, and for some people sickening, to see this kind of shaky camera work, especially for a prolonged period of time. Blair Witch Project generally was liked in terms of the substance of the story. The ending, people were not happy about. Some people thought it was just stupid that the movie just ended without a satisfactory conclusion to the story. Some people saw that it was quite clever. Roger Corman, the king of all B movies, described it as, and I quote, brilliant. One advantage to this format is it's relatively cheap to do a found footage film, because it's okay if it looks amateurish. It's okay if things go wrong with the equipment. And people are not expecting a whole lot of special effects in these movies. A lot of found footage works because it is implying that there's something scary. What was that noise? And you turn and look and there's nothing there on camera. Or what was that behind me? And you turn the other way and look and there's nothing there on camera. Or maybe there's a glimpse of a fleeting figure. But people are not expecting a found footage film to have elaborate special effects. Now, I know that there have been found footage films that did have elaborate special effects, like Cloverfield, and those work great. But what I'm saying is you can make a found footage film with very limited practical effects or special effects. In the Blair Witch Project, we never even see the witch. I mean, think about that. Imagine if you paid for a ticket to a Frankenstein movie and you never saw Frankenstein. You never see the Blair Witch in her own movie. But it's effective. They convince you that she is out there. Unless you subscribe to the fan theory that there was no witch, there is a fan theory that I find very interesting, that nothing supernatural happened in the Blair Witch Project, that the two male characters were simply luring the female character out into the wilderness to kill her, and everything that we observed or heard on their found footage was something that the two guys had orchestrated in advance, like sounds coming from the wilderness or things like that. It was something that they had set up entirely. I'm not saying I buy that fan theory. I'm just saying it's an interesting fan theory. Sort of like the fan theory that the little boy in Home Alone grew up to become the jigsaw killer in Saw. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it's interesting. The Blair Witch Project. I approve. If you're at all a fan of found footage, but you've somehow missed this, you absolutely have to see it, because this is the benchmark of all found footage movies. And if you like stories where people are running around in the wilderness scared half out of their minds, you would just love my book, Mourner's Woods. Mourner's Woods tells the story of a shy, bullied teenage girl, Dinah, who strangely is invited to party with the cool kids out in the wilderness on Halloween night. Unfortunately for her, the cool kids have invited her out to party with them in the woods because it's actually a trap. They plan to sacrifice her to a popular internet character that they've discovered. And the whole thing is a trap to lure Dinah out there and kill her. But which teenager is really the hunter? And which teenager is really the hunted? Is it possible that Dinah knows a lot more about what's going on than she's letting on? Is it possible that the bullies are going to find themselves the ones hunted through this wilderness on Halloween night? The answers are in Mourner's Woods, the first and flagship novel of my Mourner's Woods book series. It's available on Amazon.com. I'll drop a link in the description to this video. Thanks for letting me talk to you some about the Blair Witch Project. I'll see you in Mourner's Woods.